I happen to dabble in multiversal travel, and I could probably zap you guys to an alternate Earth.
We used portal travel eons ago, but evolved to a one universe, one truth policy as the highest form of existence.
Did you know that in one Rick and Morty episode, the animators hid over 100 Easter eggs referencing other sci-fi franchises? Ever wonder how many universes you can cram into a single joke? It's just the start of this show's crazy attention to detail. In this video, we're diving deep into every nook and cranny of Rick and Morty, uncovering hidden gems from subtle nods to sci-fi classics to bizarre pop culture references. We'll be ranking the moments that make this series the cult phenomenon it is today. Get ready to have your mind blown by the sheer brilliance and sometimes insanity of this show. Grab your portal gun. We're about to get swifty with some next level cartoon madness. Alright, let's dive into some of Rick and Morty's less than stellar moments. You know, the ones that make you want to crawl under your couch and hide. We're talking about the scenes that push the boundaries of comfort and good taste, but somehow still manage to be important to the show. Remember the pilot episode? It starts off innocently enough with Rick barging into Morty's room for a late night adventure. Things take a sharp turn when Rick tells Morty to shove some mega seeds up his butt. Morty's standing there, confused and scared, while Rick's going on about how it's for the greater good. This scene sets up the whole dynamic between Rick and Morty. We see Rick manipulating Morty for his own gain, like a mad scientist using his grandson as a lab rat. Just when you thought things couldn't get weirder, enter Pickle Rick. On the surface, it's hilarious. Rick turns himself into a pickle, but when you dig a little deeper, you realize he did it just to avoid going to family therapy. It's funny, sure, but it's also kind of messed up when you think about it. This moment shows us how far Rick will go to avoid dealing with his emotions, even if it means literally turning himself into a vegetable. Or how about that time Morty falls in love with a sex robot? Yeah, that happened. Our boy Morty experiences what he thinks is true love, only to have his heart broken when he realizes the truth. It's uncomfortable to watch, but it's also a weirdly poignant moment about growing up and facing reality. These cringe-inducing scenes are like the rough drafts of a masterpiece. Messy, uncomfortable, but essential for character evolution. They force us to confront the darker side of Rick's character and question if he's really the cool grandpa we want him to be. Is he a misunderstood genius or just a selfish jerk who doesn't care about anyone but himself? What's really interesting is how these worst moments serve as a kind of baseline for the series. They show us where the characters start, giving us a point of comparison to see how far they've come, or haven't, throughout the show. It's like the writers are saying, look how bad things can get, now let's see if these characters can grow and change. These moments aren't just there to make us squirm, they're crucial to the show's exploration of dysfunctional relationships. Each cringe-worthy scene peels back another layer of Rick and Morty's complicated dynamic, revealing the flaws and insecurities that drive their actions. It's through these uncomfortable moments that we truly begin to understand the depth of these characters and the complex world they inhabit. Alright, so we've seen Rick at his worst, but what about when he's at his comedic best? Let's dive into the moments that had us laughing so hard we almost choked on our plumbus. Pickle Rick isn't just absurd, it's a perfect collision of ludicrous premise and earnest consequences. Rick turns himself into a pickle to avoid family therapy, and the show runs with it full tilt. The contrast between the silly concept and the intense action is what makes it work so well. We've got Pickle Rick battling rats, crafting makeshift weapons, and taking on secret agents, all while being, well, a pickle. Then there's interdimensional Gee. It's like flipping through the multiverse's most chaotic remote control, where every channel challenges your concept of normalcy. We get to see snippets of TV shows from across infinite realities, and it's pure improvised mayhem. You've got Ants in My Eyes, Johnson's Electronics, where the owner can't see or feel anything. There's Two Brothers, a movie trailer that keeps piling on more and more ridiculous plot elements. These segments tap into the randomness of the multiverse while still feeling grounded in our own weird TV culture. And let's talk about Mr. Poopy Butthole. Yes, that's his actual name, and yes, it's hilarious every time someone says it. But what makes him such a great comedic character isn't just his silly name, it's how he's woven into the show's fabric. He just appears one day as if he's always been there, and everyone acts like it's totally normal. Then in a twist that's both shocking and darkly funny, he gets shot because the family thinks he might be a parasite. The fact that he survives and becomes a recurring character is just the cherry on top. Rick and Morty's comedy isn't all big obvious jokes though. It's also in the little details and quick one-liners, like when Rick casually mentions terraforming a whole planet for a single impossible golf hole, or Jerry trying to fold himself 12 times at an interdimensional customs office. These moments might not launch 1,000 memes, but they're the ones that reward repeat viewing and keep the show feeling fresh. What really sets Rick and Morty apart is how it mixes high-concept sci-fi ideas with lowbrow humor. One second you're laughing at a fart joke, the next you're pondering free will across infinite universes. It's this blend of smart and stupid, of deep thoughts and shallow laughs that makes the show so uniquely hilarious. It's not just funny, it's funny in a way that makes you question reality while also appreciating a good butt joke. This mix of intellect and irreverence is what truly distinguishes the humor in Rick and Morty. Alright, so we've laughed our way through some of Rick and Morty's craziest moments, but now it's time to put on our thinking caps. Ever watch an episode and feel like you accidentally stumbled into a philosophy class? Yeah, me too. Let's break down some of the show's biggest brain benders. First up, we've got The Ricks Must Be Crazy. Ever wondered if our entire universe is just someone's science experiment? This episode takes that idea and runs with it. Rick creates a miniature universe to power his car battery. I mean, talk about a next level science fair project, right? It's like that old philosophical idea of turtles all the way down, but with universes. This episode makes us question our place in the universe. Are we just powering someone else's brake lights? And if that mind bender wasn't enough, the episode dives into the ethics of creation. Rick is basically a god to this miniverse, but he's a pretty terrible one. He's using them for cheap labor and doesn't care about their well-being. It's a cosmic version of with great power comes great responsibility. Except Rick missed that day in superhero school. Now, let's talk about Morty Night Run. This episode asks us, what if doing the right thing leads to terrible consequences? Morty starts off thinking he's being a hero by saving a life, but ends up having to kill a sentient gas cloud to save billions. It's not exactly your typical cartoon plot, is it? The show challenges us to think about moral relativism in new ways. It's asking us, hey, what would you do in this situation? And let me tell you, it's not an easy question to answer. But the real mindbender comes in Rick Potion number 9. Ever thought about what it would be like to step into another version of yourself? Rick and Morty literally abandon their reality for a new one where they died. They bury their own bodies and take over their alternate selves' lives. If that doesn't make you question the nature of identity, I don't know what will. It's like the philosophical thought experiment of the ship of Theseus, but with people. This episode forces us to confront some heavy questions about identity, continuity of consciousness, and the multiverse theory. These philosophical concepts aren't just one-off gags, they're woven into the fabric of the show's narrative, coming back again and again, building on each other and creating a rich, complex universe. And that's what makes Rick and Morty so special. It's not content with just being a wacky sci-fi comedy. It wants to make you think, to challenge your assumptions about reality and morality. By tackling these big ideas, Rick and Morty elevates itself from a simple animated comedy to a thought-provoking exploration of existence. Alright, so we've been talking about the crazy sci-fi stuff and the deep philosophical ideas in Rick and Morty, but now it's time to get personal. Let's dive into the moments that really show us who these characters are at their core. First up, we've got to talk about Rick's suicide attempt in autoerotic assimilation. Man, that scene hits hard. It comes right at the end of the episode, after Rick's reunion and breakup with Unity. We see Rick stumbling into his dimly lit garage, clearly wasted, setting up some weird contraption. At first, you might think it's just another of his crazy inventions, but then he puts his head under this thing, turns it on, and nothing happens. The kicker? We realize it was supposed to kill him, but he passed out before it could work. It's a gut punch of a moment that strips away all of Rick's bravado and shows us the broken, depressed man underneath. This scene is huge for understanding Rick. It makes you realize that all his adventures, all his drinking, all his cynicism, it's all just a way to run from his own pain. Now, let's talk about Morty. His defining moment has got to be his speech to Summer in Ricksty Minutes. You know the one, nobody exists on purpose, nobody belongs anywhere, everybody's gonna die, come watch TV. It's such a Morty moment, you know? He's taken Rick's nihilistic worldview and somehow found a way to be okay with it. It shows how much Morty has grown from the scared, naive kid we met in the first episode. Beth's clone storyline is another character-defining moment, when Rick offers to make a clone of her so she can go off and have adventures adventurers while the clone takes care of her family, Beth can't decide. So Rick makes the clone and erases both Beth's memories so neither of them knows who's the real Beth. It perfectly encapsulates her character, always torn between her Rick-like desire for freedom and adventure and her need for family and stability. And let's not forget about Jerry. Remember when he was in that simulation running on the lowest settings and he was the happiest we've ever seen him? That's classic Jerry right there. He's at his best when things are simple and he doesn't have to deal with the complexities of real life. These character-defining moments aren't just entertaining, they're what make the show resonate on a deeper level. They take these cartoon characters and make them feel real, with all the flaws and complexities of actual people. We see ourselves in their struggles, their doubts, their moments of weakness and strength. Rick and Morty doesn't just explore emotional depths, it dives headfirst into scientific rabbit holes that'll make your brain hurt in the best way possible. The microverse battery is a whole universe Rick created just to power his car. Imagine a bustling civilization powered solely by your car's energy needs, a microscopic metropolis at your fingertips. It's like if your phone charger had a civilization inside it. This concept is wild because it makes you think about our own reality. What if we're just powering some alien's toaster? From the battery that powers a universe to the bureaucratic nightmare of the Council of Ricks, each idea challenges our grasp of reality. Picture a government building full of nothing but Ricks from different realities. It's like the worst family reunion ever, but with portal guns. This idea is crazy because it shows how even in a multiverse with infinite possibilities, Ricks will always find a way to make things complicated. It's also a fun way to explore how small differences can lead to big changes in personality. Now let's get into the time crystal from the episode A Wrinkle in Time. This thing splits reality into multiple timelines that we see all at once. It's like if you could see every possible outcome of your decisions happening simultaneously. This isn't just cool to look at, it's actually based on real quantum physics theories. It's like Schrodinger's cat, but instead of a box, it's all of reality. And we can't forget about the cognition amplifier. This device lets a Morty experience all of time and space at once. Imagine if you could suddenly understand everything that's ever happened or will happen in the universe. Your brain would probably melt faster than ice cream in a microwave. It's a cool way to think about the limits of human perception and understanding. These aren't just random sci-fi ideas thrown together. The writers of Rick and Morty often base their concepts on real scientific theories, then crank them up to 11. It's like they're playing what if with the laws of physics. What if you could see all possible timelines? What if you could create a universe in a battery? What if there were infinite versions of yourself? By constantly introducing new and innovative sci-fi concepts, Rick and Morty keeps its universe feeling fresh and unpredictable. Just when you think you've seen it all, they hit you with something new that makes you question reality all over again. It's like a sci-fi buffet where the menu changes every time you visit, serving up mind-bending ideas that'll leave you hungry for more. So we've been through the ringer with Rick and Morty, huh? This show's a wild ride that'll make you laugh, think, and maybe question your place in the universe. Whether you're here for the crazy sci-fi concepts, the deep philosophical stuff, or just to see what new catchphrase will take over the internet, Rick and Morty's got you covered. It's like a buffet of weirdness where every plate is piled high with interdimensional shenanigans. Watching Rick and Morty is like being Morty himself. You never know what's coming next, but you're probably gonna learn something. What if every bizarre moment held a secret lesson about our universe? This show changes how you see things, doesn't it? So what moment in Rick and Morty totally transformed your view of the series? Let us know in the comments.